Okay, here's the problem. I've been an activist for 45 years, and putting on makeup has not been one of my top priorities. But now I'm going to be in a documentary because I'm making it and I'm part of it, and I got to look better than this. So I'm going to be putting makeup on, and you get to watch. Here is what I was told was my color, but God, it does look dark when I put it on. But they said it blends. You know, one of the problems with being a white Anglo-Saxon, I guess that's a bit redundant, isn't it? Is if you bake in the sun, it is awful for your skin. And I've been doing that most of my life. Of course, I've also been enjoying the whole time white privilege. All right, so I know I don't have the brushes, but you know, it works good enough, right? Nobody's expecting a hell of a lot from an 83-year-old woman, I wouldn't think. Well, we are, they shouldn't be. All right, here's a little color. Now, eyeshadow, because, and I'm using just because I understand it's good for your eyes, and I'm using silver because I describe my hair as silver, although it's really gray. And here, whoop, eyeliner. This is ridiculous. I mean, I can hardly see. So without the glasses, so putting on eyeliner is like dumb. It's a wonder I don't poke my eye out with this. I think that this is eyeliner. At least I've been using it as eyeliner. Okay. It doesn't look too bad, actually. Look at all those little spots. And here matches lipstick. And the best part, my glasses. I love my glasses. They hide so much. I'll see you on the road.
You know, what would it look like if, like the Jews, Black Americans had a country or countries that were advocating on their behalf for a full reparations program? And Sandy and I were just stunned. You know, we had never contemplated that. What would it be? What would happen if African countries came together and said, yes, the US government should pay reparations to Black Americans, and we're not going to allow another US corporation to come here until you do. For us, you know, the criteria for eligibility is twofold. We're talking about Black Americans, first of all, so individuals who can prove that they are descendants of at least one person who was enslaved in the United States, and that at least 12 years prior to the enactment of an actual reparations program or a study commission, self-identified as Black, African American, or Negro.
I know you also in the past have talked to going beyond direct payments to funding historically Black colleges,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
So talk more about that avenue.
So reparations program could also include a portfolio, right? And that could include things like creating endowments for historically Black colleges and universities.
Right.
For communities where there is no hospital, no health clinic, one might be, you know, built. But it might also take the form of say you have a local group whose job it is to review business proposals. And they might have a wing that provides technical assistance. I mean, we know that significant number of businesses, regardless of who starts them, Black or white people, fail. They don't have access to credit. The loans that they receive have a higher interest payment than those of whites on average. So that could be a very important component because there's so many Black people who are interested in, business enterprise.
Mhm.
Or you could designate a proportion of the funds only to be used for, college or university training or some other type of training that would lead to, to a work possibility.
Let's talk about the educational
Yes.
component.
The museums can play a very critical role, especially institutions like the National Museum of African American History and Culture, the Black Smithsonian, but also the public schools. I mean, we would like to see at least 3 generations be taught about our history, an accurate American history in K-12, but also college as well.
I never got a hug from my father. He has long passed. He never told me the words, "I love you." And so I grew up without that model. So I had to find my own way. How can I be a Black man who breaks that cycle? We cannot heal until we become more vulnerable human beings. We can't feel other people's pains if we are not accessing our own pain. And when I say our, it's not just individual pain, it's community pain, and it is centuries long pain that we haven't fully grappled with. So all of that comes into the restorative circles, Janet.
I read the term post-traumatic slavery syndrome. Tell me more about that. And I would imagine that's part of the work you do, is dealing with that in the restorative circles.
When there has been so much violence rendered upon people's bodies, we know that there's a science that the body holds that.
In the DNA.
Yes, and we pass that on through generation. I give them just an excerpt of that, and it describes in gory detail the harrowing journey on the slave ships, right? And then you come to the supposedly new world, and you are branded, and then you are sold, you are separated from your families. It makes sense that the descendants of enslaved persons would have to contend with that we would have lots of trauma in our DNA, in our very bodies, in our psyches, that we have to undo, and not by ourselves. And when I say healing work, folks often just think of, okay, you deal with that trauma and your people can be healed. But there is part of that work, Janet, I think, that white people have a role to play in the healing of other peoples. And that's why I was, and I'm interested in the discourse and the practice of reparations. That I think that reparations in this country is not the only piece, but it is a key component of helping to heal people in this land. So part of reparations, part of healing in this land, and I believe white people need to be healed as well, because white people in rendering violence in this land are also injured and are also in need of healing. So it's everybody in this space need healing. Different kinds of healing, but healing nonetheless. Slavery was not just a mere cog in the wheel of capitalism. That slavery is the engine that drove capitalism. If we are talking about reparations, we need to transform capitalism. We can't re-envision that yet until we dig into the past and until we heal ourselves and we heal community.
I did a case in the Missouri Supreme Court and won it 4-3. And the case said that if a public defender can prove that the office of the public defender, this would be the whole state of Missouri, okay, has too many cases, then the judge can't appoint. The public defender has a duty, not just the power to do that, but the duty to do it, and no judge can order him to take more cases than he or she can competently handle, or the state, there are 353 lawyers here in Missouri. It's a big public law firm. So you can't order those people to do that if you can show that they don't have the resources to provide competent representation. So anyway, I'm ashamed of my profession on it, because we rolled over, played dead, and we gave them the illusion of a lawyer.
Of justice, right.
The illusion of justice. And that's how they filled our jails and prisons, okay? So now I've got public defenders who can say, no, I'm not going to do it.
Tell us how you got that ability for them to say no.
We did 2 electronic surveys of a large number of lawyers. And for each one of those categories, let's start with misdemeanor. How much time should you spend on average now, using the law of large numbers? How much time should you spend on average for communicating with a client in a misdemeanor case? That'd be the first thing you do, okay? And then how frequently should you do that? Then we take it through all the other tasks. 50% of the people responding to the survey were private practitioners. So I wanted those guys and gals in there because they got sufficient resources and they know what reasonably effective assistance to counsel is. So we do those 2 electronic surveys first to give them an idea. Well, here's where the publics are, here's where the privates are. Where do you want to go? Second electronic round, publics, privates. Now we give them the mean of that. And we say, let's all come together for the 3rd round. And we put them together in a room. And we're going to come out of there at the end of the day with a number for every one of those tasks, for every one of those cases, okay? Misdemeanors in Missouri, they were doing about 2.3 hours on average. What did the Delphi panel say that they should do on those? 12.3? Well, imagine what that would do to our justice system. So we went into court, we said, Judge, I cannot continue to represent these people. Every time I touch one client's file, I'm taking time away from somebody else, and I can't do this anymore. So let's do this, Judge. Why don't you keep me on those murders and life without parole and maybe some high felonies? 40% of our prison and jail population could be released tomorrow morning without any public safety consequences whatsoever.
In addition to the social services, are there other options? I'm thinking of restorative justice, mediation, all of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Victim
All right.
restoration, meet the victim, the apology, some sort of, what we could do if we get rid of this idea that we're going to solve this problem with caging people we're not scared of these people. We're just upset with them, okay? At best, we'd be concerned about them. Can we nationalize this? Yes. She's introduced a bill, okay, into Congress. It's called the Equal Defense Act. And here's what the Equal Defense Act says. All right, we know that the states for 50 years have not adequately funded public defense. So she provides for $1.25 billion in public defense right to the states, as long as they're willing to do what Missouri and Louisiana did, what we did in Missouri and Louisiana. Get your data together. And if I said fuck, you'll take it out of there?
No. Because that's one of the gifts of being old. You get to say that.